When life throws you a curveball and freezes your pipes, what do? You make a movie, that's what you do. We've had a great winter so far with plus temperatures for weeks on end. January was amazing. But since last week, we've had minus 20 weather. Today is February 12th, 2021. Yesterday I had to go into the city for a few hours. I returned home about 5:30. Fed my dog, heated up my dinner, settled in to bed at about 9:30. Everything was fine. Heaters were running and the fan was running. I read for a little while as usual and dozed off within a few minutes, only to wake up moments later to a different sound. It wasn't too loud, but it was different. So I decided to get out of bed to see what was going on. I hadn't turned the light on, so as I stepped out of bed, I stepped on the floor, of course, to a puddle of water. Now I'm still a little groggy at this time and not fully functional. I got the light turned on, and sure enough, my whole floor was flooded. By this time, panic set in. Thankfully, I wear insulated rubber boots and they were right at the door, so I slipped them on so as to not get electrocuted, because I had extension cords across the floor for my heater and my laptop and got them unplugged. I ran around the place like a madman looking for where the leak was coming from. Soaked it up with a few times. No leak, but yet the floor was flooding. Anyhow, I turned on the faucet in the kitchen and in the bathroom to relieve the pressure from the water lines, and thinking, well, let's go see outside because I can hear water running, and I couldn't hear it on the inside. It sounded like it was coming from outside. So here I slip on my coat and minus 20 outside, barely awake yet. And sure enough, I run around to the side of the trailer and there's water just pouring out like Niagara Falls, right where the inlet connection is on the trailer. Now that portion is all insulated and wrapped up with tape, but water was gushing through the styrofoam insulation that I had around it. Anyhow, I had to get the water shut off. Now my main water line, the standpipe that comes up through the ground, it's all wrapped up with foam insulation and bubble wrap insulation. And of course, it's all taped up with electric tape as well to hold it there. And finally, my brain geared in and I awoke a little bit more. But I had to unwrap this thing, holding my phone flashlight with one hand and pulling at the electric tape with the other and making it snap and then unwrapping it. And finally I got to the handle and I was able to shut the water off. While the ground is flooded and I'm just feeling really relieved that I got the water shut off as quickly as I did, in record time actually. And anyway, this is what I did next. I filmed what was going on, so take a look. I just woke up hearing a flood, and I guess something let go in behind there because the water was streaming out there. You can see the water just flooded the whole area here. I managed to strip this down and get my handle shut off. But I'm going to have to leave the heat cable on, otherwise my pipe is going to freeze. I ended up with a flood inside too. So it's right at the wall where it let go, and this is right in behind here. That's where the pipe comes in, right there. And anyway, there's my problem at hand. At first I thought it was a pipe that broke on the inside of the house here. Soaked it up with a few towels. Then I could hear water flooding. Well, that's when I ran outside. So I've got a bit of an issue here. Got to get some of this stuff up off the floor. In reality, it could cause a guy to go crazy. Crazy, I say. So I managed to get the water all mopped up, and my heaters are back on again. This little heater right here I had pointing underneath the shower stall because that's where the water inlet is, somewhere in there. I'm not sure if it's above the shower stall and comes down or what, because it's really not easy to tell. And it's hard to tell right now where the water came in, because I don't really see any water on the floor here. So I'm wondering, there seemed to have been a concentration of water just here and on the other side of the wall. So I'd have to actually measure the distance from the corner, which is over here, to where the inlet is, and it's down below. But it might come right in line with here, and I don't know, maybe something let go in. No, it's, the break is on the outside. How the water got in here is beyond me though, at this moment, until I take apart. But down here was pretty concentrated of water, and then all along the cupboard at the base here. I suspect that the problem is outside at the pressure reducing valve that the hose connects to, and it connects to the connection on the outside of the trailer. But when I installed that thing, like, I had my doubts about it anyway, because if I looked at it the wrong way, it would want to leak. So it took some doing to keep it from leaking when I first installed it, but I finally got it to. And it just so happens that I've got a video of that leaky pressure reducing valve fitting. You can see it dripping at the swivel portion of it. As I already mentioned, I managed to get it to stop dripping, but in all honesty, I knew that this day was going to show up sooner or later, and here it is. I just had my doubts about it from day one, and here we are in -20 weather right now. It's cold as heck outside. I don't believe anything froze. I tell you, no way, no way, no way, no way, no way, no way. Obviously, my pipe did not freeze because it was feeding water into the trailer. So it has to have been something that let go. And I believe it's at the pressure regulator. You can be sure I'm not going to be a happy camper. I can still laugh, because it's ironic. This is the type of thing that I spent many a year fixing this kind of problem for other people. And to have the problem myself is ironic, to say the least. It's pretty frustrating too. It always happens to be the coldest time of the year when something like this goes on. Now I have no running water inside because I've got the main valve shut off. Anyway, fun and games of living in an RV, folks. And if you're living in it full time, as I am, in northern Canadian winters, it's a risk that a guy takes, right? And I'm going to reroute that if I can somehow this coming summer, so that I'm not faced with this kind of problem in future. But meanwhile, my little girl here, who has the utmost trust in me, she was as good as gold. Because when I got out of bed, I was in bed when this happened, and I could hear water running. I also had a fan going too, like this little heater fan, but it woke me up, and I said, that sounds like it's more than the heater fan. It wasn't really loud, mind you, but it was, and it wasn't splashing or anything. It was, I could just hear it running, but it was from outside that I could hear it. It wasn't a noise on the inside of the place. And anyway, I get out of bed and it's dark, and here I step in water. Well, jeepers, I could have gotten electrocuted because I've got, cables running such as this for my heaters, and fortunately I wear rubber boots, and they were right there at the door, so I just jumped into my rubber boots and unplugged everything and tried to determine where the leak was. I thought it was on the inside at first, but I couldn't see anything. And so what I did is I opened up all the faucets to relieve as much pressure as I could to prevent as much flooding as possible, and decided to go outside and have a look and see. And there it was, just gushing out like Niagara Falls. Fun and games. But if you're going to live in an RV, folks, this is the kind of thing you have to anticipate, and you have to take it with a grain of salt, because if you get pissed off at it, it doesn't help matters any. So I try and stay calm, cool, and collected. I didn't even cuss once, Mind you, it was a little bit on the stressful side, just waking up in a stupor, and my brain didn't kick in until, I guess, a couple of minutes, because I was stupefied is what it was. It was like being in a dream, because I was still asleep, more or less. Anyway, tomorrow I will examine it a little closer. I will tear off that shroud on the outside of the wall, and I'll turn the water on again and see where it's coming from. Maybe I can fix it easily enough. But mind you, it's still going to be minus 15 or something tomorrow, or minus 13. And so you can't be working at leaking water in those temperatures. You just can't. So I may just leave it as it is until it warms up. In the next couple of days, we're supposed to have some plus weather. So That makes more sense. I'll have to do without water for a few days. Anyway, I will keep you posted. Now you be sure to join in for the next episode, because if anybody can screw this thing up, I can. You know what I mean? The old Grump's going to get Handy Dan. Yeah, Handy Dan the Makita Man. He's going to come in and fix this thing. You want to believe it? And we're going to do our best to not go bananas. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Yeah. Share this good video with your friends.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.